Hello, everyone. As I was looking at the energy pattern of the next full moon, which is the Virgo full moon, I also noticed that on the 4th of March, a number of minor aspects become really, really tight, exact, actually, and to the minute. Especially if we look around noon, they are really, really tight. And this triggered a train of thought in me because one of my favorite topics is aspects and aspect configurations, besides, of course, centaurs and asteroids and a lot, because aspects are what make a chart move. They are the energy patterns. They are the electric wires of a chart, because everyone has everything. Think about it. All of us have the 7 visible planets and the transcendental planets, of course. Everyone has 12 houses. Everyone has the 12 signs there, even if they are some of them are intercepted. As if you live in England or in the northern up north, you might have a lot of intercepted signs actually, but still it's there. But whether or not you have a Saturn Sun aspect will determine whether or not Saturn, the teacher, is going to impact your ego development Sun. If you don't have this, Saturn won't have a say in the process, and if you do, you might suffer. You might actually realize how strong your backbone is, but you will definitely experience it in one way or another. So aspects are really important. What does the word aspect mean? So how did the ancients look at this phenomenon? Well, actually, aspect means sight, look. And what they originally said was that 2 planets can see each other, and if they do, they will form an aspect, and if they can't see each other, they won't be able to form aspects. And this is why there are only 5 aspects in traditional astrology: conjunction, sextile, trine, square, and opposition. And if you take a look at it as a sequence, you will see that the semi-sextile, 30 degree, and the quincunx, 150 degree, are missing of these, because what the ancients said, if you have a planet at 150 degrees apart, they won't be able to come back. So the sight, as they look at each other, they won't be able to come back to the same position. And that is why they didn't use it. I also suspect that another reason was for this, because they couldn't give a rational explanation what is actually happening. There's no governing force behind the quincunx, because those two planets are simply too much apart, and they have nothing in common. The signs have nothing in common. They are the other spectrum of the year, the solar year, usually on the other hemisphere in a natal chart. So it's very, very difficult to work with a quincunx, because also it sometimes works as a trine and sometimes as a square or opposition. So they are very disruptive aspects. But I accept the explanation that they don't see each other. But what about the semi-sextile? They see each other, because when you only move 30 degrees apart, you get back to the same position. So you see what I mean, that it's probably not, it was an explanation, but it's not 100%. And in karmic astrology, we look at it in a different way. We look at anything that can be divided, any number that divides the circle will produce some sort of aspect. And we are going to look at it this way. Hold on one second, let me see where we are. Yes. So today's video is on special aspects, and this is on March 4th. And I'm not sure whether or not you are familiar with the fact that it was Johannes Kepler who was the first person to experiment with the numbers. He was a mathematician, first and foremost, and also an astronomer, astrologer. And in medieval times, those three professions were one. In order to become an astrologer, you had to be a mathematician and an astronomer at the same time. Otherwise, they didn't work. And only then, later on, in the age of reason, did they cut them into two and separated astronomy from astrology. So anyhow, what are the quintile series? Well, what Kepler did was he simply divided the circle by 5. What he got is not a full sine aspect. Look at the numbers. The decile is 36 degrees. The quintile, the name giving of the series, is 72 degrees. The tridecile, 3 times the decile, is 108 degrees. And the biquintile is 144 degrees. So these are something before computer programs. It was quite hard to find these aspects. I used to have some sort of template that I created with all these special aspect positions. And what I did was, whenever I drew a chart by hand, of course, I tried to see if there are any of these minor aspects. And nowadays, of course, you can use them. You can actually even create in solar fire. There's a way, when you go to advanced, you can create any form of aspect and you can experiment with them. So what are the quintile series? They denote ingeniousness. And the name giving of the series, the quintile, is what we call talent or ingeniousness. The decile, which is half the quintile, is professionalism. It denotes something that is that you know how to do. You are simply it's actually, I should use the word proficient rather. But you master it in a way, and it's not particularly talent. It's something that is acquired, and you utilize it in everyday work, in your everyday life. On the other hand, the tridecile, 108 degrees, denotes ingeniousness in an altered occurring or manifesting in an altered state of consciousness. Because if you look at the 108, the number itself, this is how many beads are there in a mala or in any form of praying instrument. Because by the time you pray, you say all those prayers, you will get into an altered state of consciousness, and you will be able to talk to God or the powers that be or whatever. So that's the tridecile, and it denotes the ability to actually spontaneously elevate yourself into this higher or altered states of consciousness. But of course, you can use all sorts of other instruments as well. Of course, people use drugs, people use mushrooms, people use alcohol to achieve that state of mind. The problem with all these things is that in old times, the shamans, the medicine men knew how to use these. They knew how not to abuse the substance. Nowadays, we don't. The problem is that too many people take drugs, too many people get drunk. There's some potential that you actually can stay on top of it, let's put it this way. But most of the time, you need more and more and more, and then it gets out of hand. So here's the quintile series. And as you can see, I didn't speak about the biquintile. The biquintile denotes ingeniousness that was created by the complete incarnation cycle. So an incarnation cycle consists of many lives. We don't know ever how many, but it usually has a main topic, a topic that can only be utilized or understood or tried under human circumstances on the earth plane, and it denotes some sort of ingeniousness that you can bring in from past lives, and you will be able to carry on in future lives as well. So that's the strongest probably of the aspects, but the one that is manifesting in everyday life is the decile, interestingly enough. Anyhow, so if we take a look at these, you will see that within 1 degree, we have many on the 4th of July. Actually, there are a couple of ones that are exact to the minute, and still within orb, and for the quintile series, the orb is maximum 2 degrees, 1.5 degrees, and for the decile, it's really 1 to 1.5 degrees. So it's really, really tight. I use very tight aspects anyway. So the maximum is 2 degrees, but if you want to be on the safe side, use 1.5 degrees. Just to mention something else, the problem with the quintile series is, yes, they denote all sorts of ingeniousness, all sorts of manifestations of talent and ingeniousness. The problem is that there's no energy in them. Nothing is actually moving them. If they create some sort of pattern, and if you take a look here, you can see that there are many more, a couple of, actually 4 or 5 more, but I didn't close the ones that are a little bit tight for my taste. And there's only actually one planetary picture here between Astrea Vesta, Uranus, and Trans-Pluto. But whenever they close, there's another one. Yeah, there's another one. Anyhow, so when they form a configuration, that is when they are quite powerful. That usually manifests. If they are just alone, or if the orb is too tight to be formed into a proper configuration, they may not manifest in a lifetime, or they just stay latent. Okay, here you have a couple of ones, but it's interesting here. You have all the cerebral planets and asteroids, actually, because there are at least 4 stages, 4 levels of consciousness and communications and collecting knowledge. You have Mercury, which is everyday communication, Pulse Athena, which is wisdom. So she is the feminine counterpart of everyday communication. So it's like filled with wisdom. And that's the normal communication. Then you have Uranus, which is the higher octave of Mercury, and it denotes flashes of inspiration. And then you have Neptune, which is dreams, premonitions, clairvoyance, but in a mystical way. It usually comes through either meditation or dreams, and of course, it's high love as well. So actually, we don't consider Neptune a cerebral planet at all, because it's a higher octave of Venus. But Neptune plays a very strong part in understanding mystical ideas and notions, not just love. So in a way, it belongs to this circle. And then you have Trans-Pluto, which is channeling, which denotes channeling. So that's maybe the highest manifestation of communication with on every level, really. So this is what you have here. And out of these, maybe the most usable aspect for the 4th of March is probably the Uranus Astrea decile, which means conscious willingness to break all embedded karma and the potential to break free of something that is binding for you. And then, of course, there's the Trans-Pluto Astrea biquintile. So you have another level of this. Actually, you can channel down the information that you need according to what you have experienced in previous incarnations, because that's a biquintile. And again, Astrea is a karma breaker. So you can actually see how these work. So that's the quintile series. And on the 4th of March, we have some other interesting, unique aspects, or this is one, the septile series. Now, what is a septile? If you divide the circle by 7, you don't get an even nice round number. You get 51 degrees and 27 minutes. Not even half a degree. It's less, 3 minutes less than half a degree. And of course, the septile series denote mysticism. The whole series denotes mysticism. And I think it's really unique, the fact that, yes, here you have a number that is broken up by degrees and minutes. So it's something that is not even, something that is not rational, something that is totally not observable just by looking at the chart. You will never actually see a septile with your own naked eye. You need some sort of instrument. You either need a template with which you can measure, or you need an astrological software that has the septile potential. And then the biseptile is double the mysticism, and actually it's 102 degrees and 54 minutes. And again, here you have 6 minutes less than 103 degrees. But we, of course, so you can actually use 51.5 degrees for a septile and 103 degrees for a biseptile. And but you should know that the actual degree is less. It's just a couple of minutes less. And this denotes the fact that sometimes in mysticism, rationality is not really working, because you can't discern or understand or delineate something mystical with the use of rational ideas. And the best one among these is the Sun North Node septile, which actually denotes a mystical relationship on that particular day between any kind of ego development and or sun energy and the node, the North Node, which is destiny choices. So you can actually tune in to see whether your own destiny choices are valid at all. Okay, and then the Trans-Pluto Pallas Athena septile is also quite revealing, because it simply gives us the potential to hold on, that's yes, that's it. The potential to rationally understand something, wisely understand something that is being channeled to you. So this is how you can interpret these aspects. And then the novile series is also interesting, because if you divide the circle by 9, you get 40 degrees. Now, you would think that, okay, 40, I can see 40 degrees in a chart. Well, the problem is that at least this is a nice even number, yes. But again, unless you have one of the planets at 0 degrees at the very beginning of the sign, it's quite hard to see 40 degrees, okay? So after a while, you get used to it. And of course, again, if you have a computer program, you can actually put it in there and you can utilize it. But the sun, anything novile denotes, and the novile itself, I just looked at the Sun Aries novile, which is not a very but not a very easy aspect, let's put it this way, because what is the novile? The novile is self-sacrifice. And if you think about the word self-sacrifice, it denotes that you are actually giving your life, your own life, your precious own life for something or someone. And that's not exactly it. It is more like altruism. That's the word I would use, or idealism mixed with altruism and sacrifice, and the willingness to sacrifice, to make sacrifices, let's put it this way. So the novile simply denotes the Christian, the Roman Christian notion of giving alms or helping others. And as Jesus told us, it's not like the celebrities are doing that. Here, I gave $100,000 to this charity or that charity. No, it means your deeds are done in a very passive, very unrecognizable way. So you never flaunt your altruism, you never flaunt your help. So that's what noviles are. And then the binovile, which is 80 degrees, twice the novile, doubles this effort. That is true. I would say that is true sacrifice. That is more like sacrifice. So that's what it is. And then what we have here is maybe, I will show you two, actually three. The Sun Aries novile could denote that on that day, we are required to do something for the greater good, because the greater good is falling apart. Aries means drastically altered outward circumstances. The Neptune North Node novile denotes the potential to really give something, higher energy, higher love, universal love, for the sake of some sort of destiny choice. And then to me, the most interesting one is the Saturn Astrea novile, because Saturn is the lord of karma, Astrea is karma breaking, and so this gives you the potential on the 4th of March again these are slow-moving celestial objects, but the tighter the orb, the better the aspect is, and the more potential it has. So anyhow, Saturn as the lord of karma and Astrea as the karma breaker join in a novile, so you can actually really accept something or change it. It's really up to you what you are going to choose. And the semi-sextile, which is a very looked down minor aspect. And we never actually think about the fact how important this could be. And I call it some sort of evolutionary development tool of the human soul. Simply, that's how it works. Because if you come to think of it, and this is how we look at science and the development of science, the meaning of consecutive science, is the fact that when the incarnating soul leaves the great soul pool of the higher dimensions, where everything is one, everything is happening at the same time. There's no time, there's no space, there's no material, really. There's no matter. It's just being, existence is. And then the soul decides to come down to the earth plane. And why? Well, there are two main reasons. Number one, because God, or the goddess, the creator goddess, gave us this dimension. The human souls are responsible to maintaining the third dimension. Whether or not we are doing a great job is not open discussion at the moment. I think we are doing a great job. And if you are a totally leftist, woke, green person, then you might think no. But believe me, yes, we are doing a great job. We are just constantly being dragged into stupid conflicts. If people are left alone, if people are left alone in their own community, in their small community, then they can work perfectly well. And all the rest of the complex is really generated from the outside, and the reason is to make profits of it. So that's what I think. And anyhow, the 30 degree, and I told you that there are two reasons to come down here. One, because this is our responsibility to come down here and maintain this world. And the second one is that this is a very nice place. This is like Las Vegas. Okay, we come here to have fun. We come here to eat, drink, to have sensory perceptions and sensory sensuous, let's put it this way, experiences. Otherwise, we won't be able to do that up there. So this is a brilliant world. This is a brilliant dimension, and we could have so much fun had we not starting to kill each other. That's the reason. Oh, that's the main thing. And if you look at the signs, the consecutive signs, this is what happens. And this is how we look at it in karmic astrology, that the next sign is some sort of response or answer or solution for the previous signs' bad or unhealthy behavior patterns. Now let's take a look at this. And let's concentrate only on the main. We could find more. I mean, if you look at the triple conjunction of Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus, I could have put here Jupiter, besides the Jupiter Sun semi-sextile, I could have put their Sun Venus and Sun Chiron semi-sextiles as well, but we are going to look at only at the main ones, the ones that are really tight, and at the same time they are going to be the same Pisces Aries energy, so it's all the same. What happens here? Well, what is the main characteristic of Pisces? Melting into the whole world, not being able to distinguish between me and you and myself and the outside world. Time and forms are dissolving, and whole life is like this. Yeah, you are able to make sacrifices, you are able to love unconditionally, but at the same time, you don't know who you are. Now, Aries is the most individualistic of the signs. Here I am, this is what I want, this is what will happen. So it's an answer to Pisces, to the Pisces energy. And of course, the Sun Jupiter aspects are always about personal luck, how you experience your personal luck. The Neptune Aries semi-sextile has been there and will be there for quite a while, for another couple of weeks for sure, coming in and out of orb, of course, and it has been there at least for the last year or so, because these are very, very slow moving objects. At the moment, they travel together, and so they form a semi-sextile. And of course, Neptune is universal love and transcendence and ideology. The reason why we have so many crazy ideologies is because Neptune is in its own sign and mishmashing everything. And that's why we can't even tell whether, most people can't tell whether they are male or female. Come on. How could this happen? Okay, why don't you look down between your legs and you can, I'm sure you will be able to tell what you are. It's ridiculous. The whole idea is ridiculous. And this will pass. Let me tell you very, very soon, when Saturn and Neptune join and leave together Pisces and enter at the same time, enter Aries in 2025, this will all disappear. And all of a sudden, we will have some harsh reality. So again, craziness is everywhere. And unfortunately, it becomes worse before it actually will get better. So that is the Pisces energy forming into Aries energy. At the moment, Aries, drastically altered outward circumstances, is in Aries, and the Neptune Aries is again something I could translate it to you in a way that we are not seeing, we are ideologizing hatred, we are ideologizing bad behavior, fights, wars, killing. Just the other day, we had a really nasty experience here in Budapest, which is a haven of happiness and calmness. We never have any bad things, really. Some demonstrations, of course, because the crazies are sometimes doing things, but we don't have violence in the streets. And all of a sudden, some Antifa members from Germany, of all the countries from Germany, were attacking Hungarian citizens from behind, in packs, like 8-10 people attacking with weapons and beating them up really bloodily. They wanted to kill. They wanted to see blood. And it's so ridiculous in the name of, I don't know, ideas. So you're killing in the name of an idea. This is what you think is nice. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. So anyhow, that's the Neptune Aries semi-square, semi-sextile. And if we take a look at the Venus-Uranus semi-sextile in Aries and Taurus, what we have here, so it's from Aries to Taurus. First of all, Venus-Uranus is the dilemma between commitment and freedom. And of course, this Uranus is ruled by Venus as well. And Venus in Aries is in its detriment. So it's not a very strong Venus, but it still wants to rule Uranus. It's quite funny. And the change between Aries and Taurus comes in a way of slowness and fastness, because Aries is a very fast sign, a very individualized, this is what I want, this is what will happen sign. And Taurus is slow and enjoying life and wants to create, wants to own, wants to be happy, wants to be content. So that's the answer of Aries' harshness. And then the Pluto-Saturn semi-sextile is funny because we just had the conjunction in 2020, and now 2.5 years later, of course, we have a semi-sextile as always. And Pluto-Saturn is always about loss, how to transform rigid structures, yes, but there's always a loss. When you want to transform something, there's invariably some sort of loss. And Capricorn and Aquarius behave in a very, very different way, despite the fact that both are ruled by Saturn in traditional astrology, because Capricorn is about structures, is about how to keep rigid, hierarchical structures. And then Uranus is blowing up the whole thing in Aquarius. So that's what Aquarius does. So here, the change comes from the status quo, from the old, the rigid, the well-known, to something that is totally unknown, chaotic. So it's change for itself, chaos for itself, disruption for itself. The problem is whenever Aquarius enters the picture with its ruler Uranus, nothing remains the same. And then Saturn is, and this is an anaretic semi-sextile, because both planets are at the last degrees of the signs. And then the trans-Pluto-Ceres semi-sextile, which is in Virgo and Libra. First of all, it's about transcendence of anything that is linked to nurturing and understanding from above. So channeling down what I need to do in order to keep my equilibrium, my safety, my home. And Virgo, if you look at the development from Virgo to Libra, what we have here is Virgo is the sign of understanding the world as it is. And this is through a very painful process of criticism, of trying to understand, going deep, trying to sort out stuff. There's a lot of thinking process and putting things in order. But the main thing about Libra, about Virgo, is that Virgo is constantly worried. It's constantly criticizing and worried. And here comes Libra giving an answer to this. I don't care. Libra is aloof. It is completely rejecting things that are too complicated, rejecting emotions. So it is cool, content, a little reserved, aloof. Those are the words we use for Libra. Very, very clever. Not to speak of the fact that it's also very beautiful. And there's another one, if you take a look, it's not quite there. It's a little bit tight for my taste, but there's a Ceres South Node semi-sextile as well. And the Ceres South Node is in Libra and Scorpio. What is Libra's worst problem? Being unable to commit in emotional sense, trying to totally exclude emotions from cerebral decisions. And what is Scorpio's answer to it? It is the chance to feel everything with really deep emotions, to understand the depth of emotions, to understand the variety of human emotions, from hate till adoration, everything. So those are the answers that the next sign is giving for the previous sign's problem. And that's why I consider the semi-sextile as an evolutionary tool. Because if you realize what's bad in one sign, what is no longer functioning properly, and then you are able to give another answer to it, another twist in the story, that is a step in your evolutionary process. That's it, and thank you for listening. And I'm going to come back soon with the Virgo full moon. Bye-bye.